OK. Earlier, we saw the HIDS, which was the Network Intrusion Detection System. Now we'll look at a second type of intrusion detection system. And here, the only difference is where we're putting the detection system. Earlier, we installed it here at the border router. But a different option would be to put it over here. Go to each of these computers and install the detection system on the computers themselves. This results in a different type of detection system called HIDS, which stands for Host-Based Intrusion Detection System, because you're installing things at each of the end hosts. So let's put detectors here instead. This gives us a different type of detection system. So once again, we can go through what's good and what's bad about this system. It turns out this is basically the same as HIDS, but with the benefits and drawbacks flipped. So it's kind of the opposite. So all of the problems with HIDS, or HIDS rather, get solved by HIDS, most of them anyway. So for example, with HIDS, we had all those problems with inconsistencies. The HIDS sees one thing and the host sees another thing. But if we install the detection system directly on the end host, we can solve most of those problems. Now, the HIDS, which is running on the computer itself, can interpret packets exactly the same way that the end host is. They're the same computer. So whatever code is running understands how the end host is parsing and interpreting the packets. We have a lot less ambiguity issues. We also solved the encryption problem. The computer that's receiving these packets is the end, so the HIDS will have access to the decrypted messages. Remember, in end-to-end security, the two ends have access to the messages and nobody else does. If you install the detection system at one of the ends, you get access to the unencrypted messages. Some other benefits that are different from HIDS, you can protect against non-network threats as well. So with the HIDS, you might be stuck if there are attacks within the network. If this server is malicious and tries to hack this employee computer, the border router cannot stop that. But a HIDS installed on the employee computer could possibly solve that internal attack. And also, depending on how you look at it, you could argue that this is more scalable, because with one HIDS, you have to worry about that single point of failure. It's like a bottleneck where someone could do a denial of service attack. But with a HIDS, there's one per computer, so it's harder to do a denial of service attack to take all of them down. But that really depends on the structure of your network. So which one scales better, kind of an open question, depends on your network. Now here are some drawbacks. These are kind of the opposite of HIDS. So remember, a HIDS was very cheap. It was one device for the whole network. Now we have a drawback where you need one detector for every end host. So the thing that was good about HIDS is one thing that's bad about HIDS. It's much more expensive. You have to go to every end host and install this detector. And you have to tell them to update their detector. You might have to consume resources on their computer. So there are some downsides with cost. Also, we did solve most of the ambiguity problems, but there are still some evasion attacks that someone could do. So for example, if the HIDS doesn't know about the entire file system, there could be something to do with the file name parsing, but that depends on your HIDS and how much about the end host it knows. So these are the benefits and drawbacks. They're kind of the opposite of what we saw earlier.